We have a few people joining and several more starting to enter the room here. So we'll get started very shortly. We'll just give a few moments for some more of you to join us. Good evening, Joshua. Glad you found the chat box. So those of you that are joining us right now in the room, we will be utilizing a chat feature that should be located on the right-hand side of your screen, where you'll be able to type messages. And at the end of the presentation is when we'll open up for a question and answer. So you'll be able to type in questions that you have, and then Dr. Susan Smith and I will answer those as they come forward. So I want to welcome everyone to the Doctor of Social Work webinar at Walla Walla University. In this webinar, we're going to be discussing a little bit about Walla Walla University, in case you're unfamiliar with who we are, as well as Dr. Smith will go into the program in detail, and then pass it back to me. I'll cover the admissions portion of the program, and then we'll cover costs and open it up for a question and answer at the end. So hello, I'm Brandon Shadle, Graduate Enrollment Coordinator here at Walla Walla University, and I help many of you and prospective graduate students, master's and doctoral level students, with questions about the programs and assist through the admissions process up until acceptance. So we'll click through the slide here to give you a little bit of information about who we are, Walla Walla University. We were founded back in 1892, a nice winter session that we started in, and still in the same location in College Place, Washington, which is the southeastern part of Washington State. And we're a Christian not-for-profit institution affiliated with the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And we currently serve about 200 graduate students and a little over 1,600 undergraduates. And we're the only school in the Pacific Northwest to offer a DSW program. And we're located in a small school community. So what that means is that you get a really supportive learning environment from professors that are interested in your personal and professional success, as well as able to build close connections that last for a long time through the classmates you take the program with. So that's a little bit about us, and I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Smith to talk about the program, and I'll turn off my webcam for this portion.
So just a little bit about the School of Social Work at Walla Walla University. Some of you may be alumni, but we are, the School of Social Work began in the 1970s, and we've been continuously accredited by the Council on Social Work Education since that time. We have 3 campuses where we offer the MSW degree in College Place, Missoula, Montana, and Billings, Montana. At this point, we have over like 3,500 graduates of the School of Social Work. So we kind of felt like the School of Social Works, this was the next step in our own educational evolution, and that we have so many alumni of our program now that we thought that many of you might be ready to take the next step in your education and careers. Just a little bit about accreditation of doctoral programs. The Council on Social Work Education currently does not accredit any doctoral programs, not PhDs or DSWs. They are currently studying the issue of whether to accredit DSWs, but have not made a final decision about that. So we have continued just to watch that to see how that develops. So the only accreditation that's available to us at this point is our regional university accreditation. And we received the go-ahead and have been accredited back to September of 2019 to offer the DSW. A lot of people ask the question, well, you know, what's the difference between a PhD and a DSW? PhDs generally are very research oriented, and they intend to do social work research or work in higher education, whereas the DSW is, we say it's a practice degree. And depending on the university, the focus can be quite different. Some, it might be advanced practice, some it might be policy, some might be administration. For us at Walla Walla University, our focus is on teaching in social work education at the college or at the undergrad or graduate level. and doing administrative work. And we think that these two fields overlap quite a bit, that people who teach in social work education often find themselves in leadership positions as field directors, as directors of bachelor's programs or master's programs, or deans, and have had usually very little training, formal training that had to do with administration. And then we also find that people who do administration are often have education as a component of what they do, training staff, doing community education, client education. So, you know, we kind of like the idea of teachers who can also lead and leaders who can also teach. And that is the primary focus of our program. The School of Social Work overall, our umbrella mission is, it aligns very closely to the values in our code of ethics, and that is to train competent and ethical professionals who embody integrity, value all people, serve their communities, and pursue social justice. This would represent the faculty members who would be teaching in the first year of the DSW program. We have our dean, and then I will teach and be the program director. And Cheris Current will focus primarily on course content related to diversity. Carrie Firestone would focus on research. Nariah Sebastian teaches in education, and he would do the first course in the theories and practices of teaching. Ann Salsta-Petra is one of our professors on the Missoula campus. She teaches research and statistics, and she would be doing a class on data-driven decision-making. And Laurel Warner, who's the coordinator of the Missoula campus, will teach a class on ethics. So this is the faculty that you would have in the first year of the program. What we're excited about is that the majority of the faculty members that you'll have throughout the program are actually faculty members on staff at Walla Walla University. And we feel like that will give us greater buy-in and more collaboration amongst the faculty as we shape this program and teach the students. So we're happy about that, and we also think that the faculty will likely come from several different fields, social work primarily, but also nursing, education, and business as well too. So it'll also be exposure to different disciplines along the way. The specific mission of the DSW program under the umbrella of the School of Social Work is to develop experienced social work practitioners into outstanding educators and leaders who engage in the dissemination of scholarly knowledge to invigorate social work practice and advance social justice. So we're really interested in prospective students who are experienced practitioners already, who see the next step in their careers or their current careers as teaching BSW and MSW students, or going on to be in some kind of leadership positions. We want to take that practice knowledge, add scholarly knowledge, academic experience, so that really what we're producing is a scholar practitioner. So this program is designed for working professionals. You would not take more than 2 classes in any given quarter, and it is 10 consecutive quarters. So there would not be a summer break, but you at least would not be taking more than the 2 classes during those 10 quarters. We are not a semesters program, we're on the quarter system. So it's 68 quarter credit hours, which is 18 classes over the 10 quarters, which is really just under 2.5 years. The program would be all online. Some of it would be synchronous in real time, and some of it will be online. And then the summer of the first quarter of the program and the summer before the second year would have a 1-week required on-campus residency that would last 1 week. We currently have scheduled that residency for the first cohort on July 6th to 10. We realize we're in kind of uncertain times, so we'll continue to watch that to see whether that's something we need to go online for also once summer rolls around. The program would also have all students doing a capstone research project. That would be research that is serious research that adds to the body of knowledge in our profession and would be publishable in an academic journal. We'll always limit the class to no more than 10 students, and we expect the program to remain small. We want to make sure that we have the faculty resources to be able to give students the kind of attention and mentorship that they need in their teaching development and also during their research projects as well. So here's what the curriculum looks like over those 10 quarters. As you can see, you're never taking more than 2 classes in any given quarter. And the curriculum kind of runs from taking teaching and leadership from a broad perspective and research, and then it becomes more and more specific as the program moves on. The first summer, you would take an introduction to teaching and leadership in social work, which I would teach that course, and it would give you an orientation to the program and start to lay down a foundation in both teaching and leadership. And then you would also take a class in ethics and social responsibility. In fall quarter, you would take a general leadership course that would review the theories and evidence-based practices in leadership, as well as its counterpart in teaching. So the teaching pedagogy class, theory and practice, would also give you generally, what are the theories and practices in higher education. In winter quarter, you would take a class, Challenging Oppression and Confronting Privilege, which would be focused more on self-awareness and the concerns that are brought to the classroom and into the workplace in terms of privilege and oppression and diversity and inclusion issues. And then you'd also take a class on data-driven decision making. In spring quarter, the teaching course will become more specific to social work then, where it'll focus on curriculum development and instruction specifically in the field of social work rather than the fall class that is more broadly about teaching in higher ed. And then you'd also take a class in program evaluation and how program evaluation is used then to do quality improvement either in your agencies or in your educational programs. In year 2, again, the summer, you would do a 1-week intensive on campus that would begin your Research Methods 1 class, and you do a Diversity, Oppression, and Change class that is focused on the application of interventions to change organizations in relation to diversity and inclusion. So while the first one is more theoretical and self-awareness, the second one is actually trying to implement change. In fall quarter, you would do a class in Innovation in Social Work Education and Practice that will look more at the cutting edge practices in teaching and social work practice directly that we might see as new and exciting in the field. And then you'd also do a class in Organizational Behavior and Leadership. In winter quarter, you would do 1 elective depending on what your focus is. If it's on teaching, we'll pair you with a faculty member where you will likely teach a course during that quarter with a mentor. And if leadership is your focus, we will either have a graduate business class that you can take or do a directed study with you that's unique to what you wanted to study. And then you do your Research Methods 2. In this class, Research Methods 2, by the time you got to the end of the course, you would have done your literature review, you would have developed your committee, your research committee, you would have gone through the institutional review process so that you're ready to do your research when the summer quarter comes. In spring quarter, you would do a peer-reviewed scholarship class, and that class is going to focus on how you get your scholarly work accepted at conferences, poster presentations, manuscripts ready for publication. And the reason for that is so that you have the tools and information that you need, that when you're done with your capstone research is that you're ready to have that submitted for publication or presentation. And then you'd also do a strategic management class in that quarter. In year 3, you're working more independently with your capstone research committee to implement the research project that you developed at the end of Research Methods 2. And you would certainly be welcome to come to campus if you wanted more intense interaction with your committee and faculty, major faculty members. But that likely can be done from afar if that works better for you. And then in the fall, we would expect that your capstone course, your capstone research would be completed and you would do an oral defense of your project to the faculty. So that kind of encompasses the curriculum and how it builds one upon the other. As I talked about how the program is delivered, if you're taking a 4-credit class, half of those hours, so you would be responsible for a 2-hour, for a 4-credit class, a 2-hour synchronous session with your faculty for that class, where it would be in real time, where we would all log in, not unlike we're doing right now, to a session where we can all interact about whatever the learning, whatever lesson that the faculty member had prepared. And then the rest of the course would be done asynchronously through our learning management system, which is Desire to Learn, where you would be doing those things independently, watching some pre-prepared lectures. So it will be a mix of real time and time that you schedule to fit your own lifestyle. I'm going to turn this back over to Brandon, so he's going to talk to you about the admissions criteria.
Thank you, Susan. Yes, this slide for admissions criteria, it's kind of our prerequisites as well as expectations for some students. Admissions to the program, we do expect that you would have an MSW degree from an accredited institution, CSWE accredited or equivalent recognized international program. A minimum of 2 years post MSW clinical experience would be ideal. A minimum GPA as well of 3.5 for graduate work and looking for 3.0 on undergraduate work. An expectation is a commitment to teach and or lead in the social work profession. And an active license in clinical social work would be preferred, although it's not required. That just may add a little bit of to your file as far as when we review it. Professional level skills in the use of technology and reliable internet access will be needed. So since it is a primarily online program, we'll be utilizing some various tools and resources accessible online. So would need the internet access as well as comfortability, utilizing different pieces of technology. So many of today's laptops and computers have a webcam built in. So you would need a webcam and microphone option to communicate and fully participate in the courses. So a little bit about the admissions process. We are looking for at least this year for the summer 2020 cohort of admissions deadline of May 1st. So that's when we'd ask that these following items be submitted and marked as received by the Office of Graduate Studies. We'd start with the application. You can do that at apply.wallawalla.edu. It does require a $75 fee for submitting that, but as a thank you for attending the webinar and taking some time out to be with us this evening, you can use discount code DSW2020 when you get to the end of the application. Just mark yes, you have a discount code, enter the code DSW2020, and that will save you $50 off the application fee. And all transcripts from graduate coursework that you've taken is what we'd like to see. Maybe you have 2 masters, great. We'd like to get both of those transcript copies. And then we'd look for just 1 of your bachelor's degree granting institution transcript for that to be received. So if those of you attending, if you went through our Masters in Social Work, our MSW program at Walla Walla, we'll go ahead and pull a copy of those transcripts for you on your behalf. You don't need to do anything to request those. If we happen to have your conferred bachelor's degree transcript still on file, we will go ahead and utilize those. And if we don't, we'll certainly let you know and remind you that it is something that we would need submitted. But if you did take additional graduate coursework after our master's, certainly mark that on your application and make sure to obtain a copy of those transcripts and have them sent to Walla Walla University, ideally to the attention of graduate studies. And then we were looking for 3 professional recommendations. So this can be done through an online form that you can submit online once you have the 3 recommenders you'd like to have, and then you'll enter their name, relationship to you, as well as email address, and that should send them an automatic form. They may have to check their spam or junk filter folder to see if those forms went there. But in there, they'll select a few aptitude boxes as far as related to your ability on different items. And then there will be a spot where they can type up a paragraph or so recommending you to the program. And then I also might recommend, since it is limited to 10 students in the cohort, to have them go ahead and attach in that form a recommendation letter that they can certainly type up on school or business letterhead, and then attach there to provide a little bit more in-depth support and background to you as the applicant. Then we'd ask for a professional writing sample. So this would be something that maybe you're teaching in higher education, might have been asked to present at some conferences, or went and prepared for research, maybe seminar or faculty discussion that you presented some information on. So professional writing sample we'd need. As well, if you did take it for your master's program and did some really excellent work there for research and writing, certainly you can utilize that if you think that may be your best piece of professional writing to submit. Then we'd ask for a current CV or resume, detailed resume, explaining your background. You can list any certifications that you hold as well, and that can be uploaded or emailed to us. So many of these items will be all listed online, can be submitted online, but certainly at any point you can email them to myself to get attached to your file, or to grad.studies@wallawalla.edu. We'll be in contact with you after the application has come through. Certainly be able to attach any of these to your admissions file. There is a background check as part of the process. So it's probably something that most of you, if not all of you, do or have done for work, as well had to do for your MSW program. So there's a short form that you'd fill out on the website. And once that is submitted, that will authorize the company to go ahead and perform the background check. Then Walla Walla University will take care of any payment for that, as well as when it's released and received, we'll add that to your admissions file for you. Then the admissions essay. So this is something that you probably spent some time on for your master's program. Again, there would be some prompts or information that we'd like to know a little bit more about you. As well, that's where you can outline your interest for teaching in higher education, or if you want to focus a little bit more on the leadership portion, and that's what you're looking for in the program, certainly do that in an admission essay. There is, like I said, prompts that you'd respond to. I can email those out to you, but online, when you click on the admission essay for steps to enrollment for the DSW program, and you click on the program that you're applying to, that's when it'll provide the prompts for you. As well, under admission essay is at least the link online for steps to enrollment is also where you can attach your CV and professional writing sample. But like I said, to make it convenient for you at any point in time, you can email those to myself or Office of Graduate Studies to get added to your file. All right, so you've heard a little bit about the program and admissions process. So what about finances? Well, this slide gives you some of the important information you'll need. Tuition is $1,074 per credit hour. So the program total is 68, but you'd be looking and expecting about per year around probably what your master's was, at least especially if you got it from Walla Walla University. And you're taking no more than usually 6 to 8 credits a quarter. So that can give you kind of an idea of what you'd expect per quarter. Then there's also a general student fee of $87 that will be added per quarter. So there are 2 teaching assistantships, 2 TA positions that are available. These will be awarded to our top candidates that have their focus as teaching in higher education. As well, for this position, the candidate would be needed to or willing to relocate to the College Place campus, because that's where the TAs will reside, is on our main campus in College Place, Washington. And these selection will be made after the May 1st deadline once all the applications are in. We already have, I know, over 10 applicants interested for this summer. So once May 1st has come around, there will be a committee that will get together, review all the wonderful candidates, and then make the tough decision of selecting 2 TAs for this year. And the TA position will come with a stipend as well as tuition waiver. And then there are federal direct student loans available for those of you that will be needing to pay out of pocket. So you can certainly utilize the direct Stafford loans that you might have been familiar with through your master's program. And then in addition, there's the federal Graduate Plus loan that's an option. So if you needed additional money for qualified living expenses or other things that may come up, you can certainly talk with our Student Financial Services office a little bit more in depth to what may be eligible and not, and if Graduate Plus loan may be a good option for you to consider. If you are working in the public service sector, eligible government agency or non-for-profit agency as well, you could qualify for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. You may be already making qualified payments towards that. So that program requires 120 qualified payments, which I think is about 10 years out or so from when you finish a program. And so you may be already paying qualified payments towards that. You can certainly qualify for the doctoral program, qualify for the loan forgiveness program, just like your master's. It'd be the same. You wouldn't have to make additional qualifying payments after you graduate. But beyond that, there are interest-free payment plans available through Walla Walla University. So many students will like to utilize a mixture of student loans as well as paying some out of pocket that they can, or as much as possible if they want to work on limiting the loans they take out. So you can do a combination of these if you'd like, and our Student Financial Services will be happy to walk you through the details and what's involved with each of those. All right, so that's the presentation regarding the DSW program. At this time, I'd like to open it up for questions that you may have. So if you are attending, on the right-hand side, you should see a kind of chat question bubble icons. Be sure to click on chat, and then that's where you can type in any questions that you may have for Susan or myself. As well, we'll leave this screen up here for the remainder of the session, so that way you'll have Dr. Smith's contact information there. As program director, want to ask a little bit more detailed questions, you can email her at susan.smith@wallawalla.edu. Myself, Brandon, if you have questions about the admissions process or enrollment, you can ask me, brandon.shadle@wallawalla.edu. And as I mentioned, our Student Financial Services department, Carrie Butler would be the dedicated financial counselor. If you took our MSW program, you might have interacted with her, depending on when that was. And her email is Carrie with CARI.butler@wallawalla.edu. We'll go ahead and open up for questions now.
So Joshua, I see a question that you've asked about the defense, and yes, the oral defense of the capstone project would take place at the end of fall quarter of the 3rd year. So, once your project is done and your committee has approved it, then we would schedule the defense that you would present. And then I'm not sure if this is Jonna or Jonah, but will synchronous classes be offered during the week or on the weekend? They will be offered during the week. Once we can see where all the students are located in the country. But at this point, we're kind of thinking that it will probably be twice per week, maybe Tuesday and Thursday from about 5 in the evening to 7 West Coast time, which would allow the West Coast students to get done with work and log into class, but still not so late that East Coast students couldn't participate. So, we'd still like to look to see where all the students are located before we finalize the time, but that's about what we're looking at this point, 4:30 to 5 in the evening for 2 hours, twice per week. Any other questions?
And Susan, regarding the synchronous sessions, in case people are wondering if they have a work obligation that may arise that for some reason happens to fall towards those evening hours when the synchronous sessions come up, what would you expect of them if there's conflicts that arise during those sessions?
I think it would be, you guys have all been students for a long time. I would say it's not unlike any other, work or school obligations that you've had in the past, is you just need to liaison with your faculty member and let them know what the conflict is to see how they can work things out. Depending on, I don't want to speak for every faculty member, but I assume that some of those sessions will also be available, will be recorded and available for students to view at a later time as well. But, it will be the one chance in the course per week that the students and faculty will have to interact in real time. So, we would want the students all together as much as possible. Let me see. Evenings are excellent. Okay, so we're assuming, I'm not sure. John, is it Jonna? Can you just say yes or no, whether you're Jonna or Jonah? Are you Jonna? Are you Jonah?
I think we're waiting for the delay within texting or typing back. Certainly. There is looks like yes, Jonna.
Jonna, okay. So Jonna, good, thank you. Thanks for the phonetic spelling. So Jonna, our assumption is that the students in the cohort are working professionals. So our goal is to try to make the program as feasible for a working professional to participate, which is why we would want the hours to be in the evening, the majority of the content online, not taking more than 2 classes, to try to make it as feasible as possible. Joshua asks, what will be the structure of the week-long residencies? So the one this summer, what we'll do is I will teach one of the classes, and Laurel Warner, the coordinator in Missoula, is teaching the other course you're enrolled in. We will actually do probably the equivalent of at least 2 weeks of lectures in real time, lectures and activities with the students. You'll get a chance to meet all the faculty members in the first year, either through video cam or have them come in to meet you. We'll have people from graduate studies, student financial services, getting you your student ID cards. We will both do some logistic things that you need as a new student, and introductions and welcomes, as well as some direct instruction for the 2 classes. We just think it's important for the 10 students to have a sense of who you're studying with in real time, and also who your faculty members are, that it'll set the stage for the quarters coming that are all online, that will have a sense of each other in a deeper way. So Joshua asks, I gather students were responsible for their week-long accommodations. So one of my colleagues is currently developing a list of accommodations, both from very affordable accommodations directly on campus to hotels in the community. So we'll try to get a really broad price range of accommodations. The Friday of the first residency, we're going to be mindful to end in line with flights that take off from Pasco and Walla Walla, which so we'll probably end midday, 11:30 or 12 on Friday. So if some folks need to fly back home, that will be very possible for them. So yeah, we are probably looking at 4 or 5 days of accommodations, but we're going to try to get you a good range of affordable to regular hotel options too. And we'll send all that information out once we have the cohort selected. One thing we've had several prospective students ask questions about the writing sample, and Brandon did address that, but it is perfectly fine to submit something from your master's program if that's your best example of kind of academic writing. Even if it's far from the past, it should give us a sense of the process you use and your writing ability and your analytical or research abilities. Make sure if it is older, just also tell us what year, tell us the year you submitted it, so that we can also say, okay, well, this is how we understood how things were, or that this is the APA style you used at that point in time. Some of you might also want to include, if that was from a long time ago, you also might want to include something from your everyday work that shows us the professional writing that you do, even if it's, rather than not only a scholarly example. But what we're after is seeing an example of prospective students' ability to write serious research in this program. So wherever you've done that, or even if it was from a long time in your master's program, those are still acceptable options.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Those were some great questions. If you do have more, certainly feel free to utilize the chat feature to send that. Or if you'd rather, you can certainly email one of us with detailed questions later. I did send in the chat menu a link to the program page in case you have not yet visited wallawalla.edu/DSW. I'm sure most of you have in order to register for this webinar, but just as a reminder, the link's there. If you do find yourself on that page, you can certainly fill out a form on the left-hand side that's submitting a short form to ask a question if you'd like to ask it there as well.
I would just, given that we all seem to be working remotely at this point in our lives, is for me at this point, it would probably be best to email me first, and then we can arrange a telephone conversation if need be. I even if you do call my office phone, I will get that message in my email. But until we're back in our offices again, probably email works best at this point. But if it has to do with the program, curriculum, content, that I can answer your questions. If it has to do with admissions, Brandon can answer all of those questions. But either Brandon and I can pass off to the right person as well. And Carrie can answer all your financial questions.
Yes, great reminder. It looks like we have another question that probably for you, Dr. Smith. It's how soon after the May 1st deadline do you anticipate delivering responses regarding people's acceptance?
I think that you will hear back from us quickly after the deadline. I would say within 3 weeks, 2 weeks. It might be that the committee might want to do interviews with candidates too. But our goal is to meet almost immediately after the deadline, select the 10, and then start either scheduling interviews with prospective students or the outright acceptance into the program.
Yes, and I expect that those interviews may be needed if there's a highly qualified multiple candidates looking for the TA position. An interview might be necessary or helpful to help find the top 2 candidates to offer those to. And if you are accepted to the upcoming cohort here in summer, that will be our inaugural first cohort taking place. That'll be great to have you join us. But if you, for some reason, are not accepted to the upcoming summer 2020 cohort, you may be asked to wait a little bit until possibly the next year. So you could certainly reapply the following year, maybe submit some additional supporting documentation that may show how you've grown over that past year, that may help strengthen your file.
Joshua, the question about the course descriptions. So we do have the course descriptions. Since this is a brand new program, those have to go through a faculty governance system to be approved and put into the bulletin. And they were slated to be approved by Faculty Senate when we went remote. So as soon as the Faculty Senate approves the bulletin copy, we will post a link to that on the DSW webpage.
Yes, and thank you, Jonah. And for all of you attending and asking the great questions, I certainly enjoyed our time talking a little bit more in depth about the DSW program and answering your questions. We'll still be here for a while, answering any questions you have. If you feel like you've gotten all the information needed, great. Feel free to log off if needed to attend to other things. And contact us in the future. We will be taking a recording of these sessions and should have that to send out to you relatively soon. Not exactly sure how long it will take, but we will try and get that out to you guys very soon, if possible tomorrow. So be able to look out for that. And don't forget on the application, if you have not filled that out already, to use the discount code DSW 2020. Joshua does have an additional question. Would anything else determine a student being interviewed versus being offered direct admission without an interview?
Well, I would say my thinking is that the admissions committee might decide to interview all 10. So I don't think it's really that they picked something out from a specific candidate. But rather whether they feel like they would just like to have some kind of more personal interaction with the candidates before. Does that help? I think it's more a procedural thing than it is why would we choose to interview one student versus the other. Did that help, Joshua? Okay, good. Well, we appreciate you all coming to the session. We're certainly available if you have any additional questions in the future.
Yes, and certainly thank you all for coming. And if you do have friends or colleagues that may be looking for a doctoral degree and could qualify for the DSW, might be interested, certainly send them our way to get in touch with Dr. Smith or myself about the program.
And Joshua, yes, the interviews would be by video conferencing or telephone.
Yes, thank you, Joshua. We are excited as well for it being the first doctoral program at Walla Walla University, and that's a huge credit to Dr. Smith for basically spearheading it and putting it together and providing a program that's something with information that she wished she would have had going through a doctoral program as well.
It's true. Yeah, we're excited too, Joshua.
All right, we'll be around for maybe a few minutes more. It looked like most people have gotten their questions answered, but if you do have more, feel free to utilize the chat box. Hang around for a few more minutes if that something comes to you. But if we don't have anything in another minute or two, we will probably close the session. All right, goodbye, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Bye-bye.